Hi, this is ENX04. Today, I'll show you a very special way of using Dolphin's Grace to make it drastically easier to explore a Minecraft world in early survival, well before you get elytra. With this technique, you'll be able to zoom around on the ocean surface at up to 51 blocks per second. That lets you cover over 3,000 blocks of distance in just 1 minute. And the best thing is that you don't need to build a highway or anything else in order to travel like this. This travel technique truly lets you explore uncharted parts of your world by going super fast while maintaining a clear view of your surroundings, both above and below the water's surface, so that you can spot new biomes, such as jungles, badlands, and ice spikes, new structures to explore, like villages, ocean monuments, and shipwrecks, and special resources like bamboo, mushrooms, and packed ice. You're probably already familiar with Dolphin's Grace, which is a status effect that gives you a short boost in speed when you're swimming near a dolphin. The speed boost is substantial when combined with depth strider boots, and even more so when combined with a potion of swiftness. But there are several problems with using Dolphin's Grace for the purpose of exploring, and I'll show you how to overcome each of them. The first issue is that Dolphin's Grace lasts only 5 seconds, and by the time that it wears off, the dolphin that gave you the effect can be nearly 200 blocks away. You can get around this by using a lead on the dolphin so that it's towed behind you as you swim, which lets you constantly refresh the Dolphin's Grace effect. But this also introduces a new set of problems because the lead has a very strong tendency to overstretch and break. The lead typically snaps after the dolphin collides with underwater terrain or some other obstacle, like coral, which makes the dolphin come to a dead standstill while you continue to race ahead. Once the lead is stretched over 10 blocks in length, it breaks, and then you will lose the Dolphin's Grace effect after a few seconds. The risk of collision is drastically reduced just by staying close to the water surface, keeping your distance from land while turning corners, and avoiding areas that are known to have blocks close to the water surface, such as rivers, swamps, and coral reefs. Another problem with using Dolphin's Grace to explore is that your camera view is normally underwater while swimming, which drastically reduces your visibility of everything. Not only does water prevent you from seeing nearby land, but strangely enough, being underwater also is terrible for looking at things underwater. You can usually spot underwater features better when you're above the water surface, rather than below it. To get around this, press the F5 key to position the game camera behind the player, and then look down slightly so that the camera becomes elevated. When you're near the water surface, this puts the game camera over the water to make it much easier to see the surroundings, both above and below the water surface. The problem with elevating the camera this way is that looking down while swimming causes the player to swim deeper underwater, instead of staying close to the surface. So you'll need to offset this sinking motion by holding down the jump key as you swim. The opposing effects of sinking down because of the camera angle and going up because of pressing the spacebar will cancel each other out when the camera angle is at about 25.5 degrees. Putting all these elements together, Dolphin's Grace, depth strider, towing the dolphin with a lead, staying close to the water surface, elevating the game camera over the water while compensating for downward swimming by constantly pressing the jump key, all this forms the basis for a super fast mode of early game transportation that I'll refer to as water skiing. And just like real water skiing, it takes a little bit of practice to get a hang of it, so I'll go through and offer tips on launching yourself, breathing, steering, navigating, and dealing with broken leads, which is a very common issue. Be sure not to skip this part of the tutorial. It's probably best to learn how to water ski in an ocean world where you can switch between creative and survival. Equip yourself with Depth Strider 3 boots, a Respiration 3 helmet, and bring a bunch of leads and dolphin spawn eggs, and then go ahead and spawn a dolphin and put it on a lead. Now switch to survival mode. Dolphin's Grace only works in survival. And then press Alt F3 to bring up the debug screen. Then press F3 and B to show the hitboxes, and finally press F5 to show the third-person view. Now hold down the forward and jump keys so that you're skipping across the water surface. And then look down slightly so that the camera angle is at roughly 24 or 25 degrees. Hold down the sneak key while you continue to hold down forward and jump, and you should slowly sink into the water. When your hitbox slips under the water surface, release the sneak key and immediately tap the sprint key, and this should launch you into water skiing. Repeat this several times to make sure that you get a hang of it, because you'll need to do this a lot. You should also use this opportunity to get in the habit of checking the lead as you swim around. The lead may break a few times as you explore, and it's best to stop and turn around once you notice that the lead is missing so that you can head back and reclaim the lead and dolphin. Once you've mastered how to launch yourself, you'll need to plan for breathing. You'd think that you would need to stop swimming in order to breathe, but that's not the case. You can swim as long as your y-coordinate is less than 62.8875-ish, but the game lets you breathe when you're above 62.6. So you actually have a narrow y-coordinate range where you can both swim and breathe at the same time. The easiest way to take advantage of this is to aim your mouse down at an angle of around 24.5 degrees. As you swim, your y-coordinate will slowly drift upwards, and when it finally goes over 62.6, you will hear this sound to let you know that you can breathe again. When you hear this, start checking on your breath meter to see when it's recharged, and then tap the sneak button for just a quick moment so that you become submerged again, and then repeat the process as you continue your travels. Alright, now let's work on steering, which seems like it should be easy. You can use the strafe left and right keys on your keyboard to make quick 45-degree turns, which is great for going around obstacles, but you'll still need to move your mouse left and right to make fine steering adjustments and to change the camera angle. Unfortunately, it's a challenge to move the mouse only left and right without also having it move slightly up or down, and this will mess with your balancing act of keeping a steady y-coordinate. To minimize this effect, I recommend using the relative position of the ocean horizon in your F3 debug screen as a quick gauge for your viewing angle as you steer with your mouse. For example, I try to keep the ocean horizon in the middle of the empty space just over my F3 coordinates, because I happen to know from experience that this corresponds to an angle of about 24.5 degrees. This is just an example, and it may be different from when you play on your own system because of differences in font size, field of view, window size, and aspect ratio between my gaming system and yours. So figure this out for your own system so that you can have a convenient visual cue for your camera angle. And keep in mind that using a swiftness potion will expand your field of view, so you'll need to recalibrate this if you drink one of these potions as you travel. An efficient way to explore in early game is to follow the coast of a large ocean. The larger the better. Start by laying down some distinctive blocks to serve as a landmark, so that when you see this landmark again in the future, you'll know that the ocean coast has brought you full circle back to where you started. Make sure that you know the coordinates of your starting point and your base as well, so that you know how to get home in case you get disoriented. Grab a boat, a sword to break the boat, some food, and a bunch of leads. You'll certainly break a few leads in your travels, and you might lose some of them, so you really should bring in excess to make sure that you can get back home in a reasonable time frame. If you want to sleep at night, you can bring a lily pad and a bed. Biomes are a little easier to spot during the day, but many of the game's special structures are lit up to make them easier to see at night. It's harder to tell when your lead breaks at night, so you'll need to be more careful if you choose to explore at nighttime. When you follow the ocean coast, I recommend keeping the coast on your left so that it's easier to see your coordinates, which are also on the left side of the screen. Start your ventures in a boat until you see a dolphin, and then jump in the water to get close enough to put a lead on it. Avoid sprinting as you approach the dolphin, because sprinting starts the dolphin's grace effect, which makes you swim so fast that it actually becomes harder to get close to the dolphin. Once you secure the dolphin, remember to collect your boat and then launch yourself into water skiing, and then continue to follow the coast while avoiding the usual areas that might break the lead, such as swamps, coral reefs, and rivers, and also keeping your distance from land as you make your turns. There may be times when you find yourself making frequent left turns. This means that you're circling a large island. Similarly, frequent right turns means that you're circling around the inside of a gulf. In either case, you might want to get a hold of your bearings so that you don't waste your time going around in circles. Aside from the dolphin colliding with blocks, the most common reason for the lead to break is probably server lag. By default, every 5 minutes or 6,000 game ticks, there's going to be a significant lag spike as the game performs an autosave on your world and has to save all the chunks that you've visited. During this autosave, Dolphin, like other mobs, will come to a standstill for a moment, which will stretch the lead to the point of breaking if you're barreling ahead. So unless you're in a position to adjust the autosave settings in your server, the most practical way to deal with this issue is to use a simple timer to predict when the autosave will occur. If you're in a single-player world, just quit to the title screen, and then load the world again. Start the timer once you're back in, and you'll be able to predict the autosaves pretty much down to the second, as long as you remember to pause the timer whenever the game is paused, like when using the game menu or placing a sign. As the autosave time approaches every 5 minutes, just stop for a moment in the ocean, and maybe use this opportunity to eat a snack. You can press Alt F3 to watch the lag spike pass by so that you'll know when it's safe to start water skiing again. If you're in a multiplayer server, it'll probably be difficult to figure out when the server was started. So you can just go water skiing and start the timer when there's a suspicious instance of the lead breaking. And remember that the game menu and placing signs will not stop the game like it does in single player mode. Despite your best efforts, the lead will still break on occasion, and recovering your lead and Dolphin quickly will let you continue your travels. In general, it's a good idea to watch the lead with your peripheral vision as you're water skiing, and if you see that the lead is missing, you should stop as quickly as possible, and then turn around. Use your boat and head back around 50 blocks or so, and look for your Dolphin and lead, which are typically rather close to each other. Showing the hitboxes with F3 and B will make it much easier to spot them. And since Dolphin like to play with items, there's a good chance that the Dolphin will be playing with the dropped lead. But you might instead find your Dolphin by some other items, like kelp, or maybe playing with another Dolphin. If you can't find your Dolphin, you can continue following the coast in a boat while you look for a new one. Dolphins spawn naturally in all ocean biomes, except for the cold and frozen variants. Let's go over how to adjust your speed when water skiing. Most of the time, you're probably going to use Dolphin's Grace with Depthstrider 3 boots, which gets you to 37 blocks per second. If you want to go faster than this, I recommend drinking a potion of swiftness. The extended version lets you travel at 44 blocks per second for 8 minutes, letting you cover over 20,000 blocks of distance before it runs out. Even faster is the enhanced potion of swiftness 2, that tops out at a blistering 51 blocks per second, but this lasts only 90 seconds, and only covers 4,600 blocks of distance. And if you want to tow another passive mob behind you, you may need to take it down a notch, depending on the mob. For example, to tow a mushroom, you'll need Depthstrider 2 boots instead of Depthstrider 3 so that the lead doesn't break. This lets you cruise at 28 blocks per second, which is just a tad slower than flying level with elytra. And if you want to have a blast with friends, use Depthstrider 2 boots to tow a pig with a saddle while your friend rides on it. Don't use a carrot on a stick while riding the pig, otherwise the pig will force you to dismount in the water. Well, I hope you found this tutorial to be useful, and I hope it helps you explore your Minecraft world with much greater ease. Before I go, I'd like to remind viewers to check out the video description for additional tips and maybe a few corrections. And remember that water skiing will take a bit of practice, and you might even want to watch this video a second time after you get a chance to try it out, just so that you can pick up some more details. But all your efforts will have an absolutely huge payoff, as you can then routinely explore tens of thousands of blocks of distance on a whim, starting in early survival. And if that isn't compelling enough, remember, this is fun too. Thanks for watching.